Hi there, it is time for training, and this video is on how to test software reports. We've all seen so many different types of reports, and in this video let us see how we can test the reports generated by our software system. First of all, the question is, what is a report? A report is an output of the system. So a report is basically some format in which the text and numbers in the system is represented in a useful way to the user. Reports can contain some numbers, they can contain some text. Usually they contain both text and numbers. So let us see a sample report and see how we can test it. So this is a sample report that we have over here. The different checks that we can perform on the report can be divided into three categories. We can test for data, whether the data in the report is correct or not. We can test for presentation, whether the data is presented correctly. And we can test for other factors like performance, does it print correctly, and so on. Now let us see what data tests we can do on the report to see if the data is correct or not. Well, first of all, when you execute the report, you have to provide some inputs. Maybe you want to see report for a particular date range, for a particular month, or for a quarter, or for a year, or you just want to see the report of a particular customer, whatever it is. So in this example, let us assume that we want to see the orders summary for Q1 of this year 2014. So when the report is created by our software system, first we need to test whether it is based on the data that we inputted. So assuming I inputted that I want the report for Q1 2014, so that is being shown correctly over here. Then we have to test, is a report based on the input data. Now Q1 of 2014 is having 3 months, January, February, and March of 2014. So further down in the report we can see that yes, it has given the data for each month of the quarter: January 2014, February 2014, and March 2014. So the report is actually based on the input data that we gave. Now next, what we have to do is test whether the data that is presented in the report is correct. There are a couple of ways to test the validity of the data. One is that you can verify this data comparing it with the output provided by the software on another screen. Maybe there is a search screen, and you can search for a particular customer to see what orders they placed on which date. For example, if we see Jennifer Perkins, we can search for Jennifer Perkins to see the orders that she placed in this year, and see whether they are appearing in the report or not. But if there is any discrepancy between the report and the data being presented by the software in some other screen, we will not be sure whether the report is incorrect or that other screen is incorrect. So the best way to test whether the data being presented in the report is correct or not is to directly query the database. And we can go to the database, we can run a query over there: show me all the orders for January, February, and March 2014, and this is all the data that should be present in the database. So everything that is presented in the database should be part of this report, and obviously the data should match also. One more thing we can test in the report is to see if the calculated values are correct. Calculated values you may or may not get in the database directly. Mostly you will not get the calculated values. So here, for example, is an example of a calculated value. This is the total for January 2014, and we can add up the orders for different customers. So we can add up the orders for Jennifer, Betty, Sandra, and Frank and see whether the total is actually the same. So let us take a second and do that. So 41, 04, 89, 94, 39, 18, 17, 29, and it is 187.45. So yes, the totals are correct. So we can test for each and every calculated value. There may be totals, there may be averages, there may be minimum values, maximum values, whatever it is. We can look at the data being presented in the report and apply our own calculation to see whether the calculated values are correct or not. Next thing we have to test is whether the grouping is correct. So the this particular sample report is divided into section for every month. So we have one section for January, another section for February, and so on. So in the section for January, we can test whether each of the order dates was in January or not. So we can test yes, this date is in January, 15th January is also in January, 16th January, yes, 31st January, yes. So this way we can test all the groupings are correct or not. Next, we can test that the text displayed in the report is correct. So we can test whether the serial numbers is a column header, then first name, last name, country, order date, order total, and also we can match this particular text to the database columns to see whether the column headers are appearing correctly. Maybe the first name or last name is interchanged or something, so we can verify all that by comparing the output, which is this report, with the database columns on which we are running the query. So that is about the different data tests we can do on the report to verify that each and every piece of data in the report is correct or not. If not, then we have to log a bug report. The second category of tests we can do on the report is on the presentation. So first of all, the question is that is the report read-only? Because the report is the output of the system, it is not supposed to be editable at all. So here we can see that this particular report is in the form of a PDF file. So it is a read-only PDF file. We cannot make any changes to it. If we try to change any value here, let us say I want to type something, I cannot do it. So this is okay. Then the next test is the layout as agreed? So the reports are formatted, the design of the report is according to the format that is desired by the user of the report. So if this particular report is for the marketing department or the accounts, then they need to agree to the report format ahead of time, and we can test whether this is exactly as per the layout given in the requirements or not. The next test we can see is are the tables drawn correctly? So here we can see that we have the column headers, and each customer's orders are totaled in a single row, and then we, for the next month, we have another table. So this is all looking good. Another test for presentation is to see if the data is aligned correctly. So we see that the text strings, they are left aligned. For example, the names are left aligned, which is okay. Country is also left aligned, that is also okay. Dates are right aligned, and currency values are right aligned. So this is all looking good. Then in presentation, we can also test if the fonts are uniform or not. So here in the report may be showing one particular font for the table header, and another font for the column header, another font for the actual value within the column. So we can test all that. So these were the two main categories of tests which are very important. Most important, of course, is to see whether the data in the report is correct or not. All the data values as well as the calculated values are correct or not, etc. The second category of tests we can do on the report is to test for the presentation factors, whether it is a read-only report, if the layout is as agreed, if everything is displayed correctly, and so on. The third category of tests we can do on the report is for other factors. So first of all, we can test for performance. Is the time taken to generate the report acceptable? So if it is a small report or report that we need on a regular basis, then it should not take too much time to generate the report. For example, it should not take several minutes or several seconds to generate the report. As soon as possible, the report should be generated. And it is possible that you may have some performance requirements which state that the report should be generated with so much data within so many seconds. So we can test for the performance also. The second test in other factors we can test is the format distributable. So this is in the form of a PDF file. PDF file is a well-known format. This report can be put as an attachment to an email and or placed on a website, and from there a user can download it or open their email attachment, and then using Adobe Reader they can open up this PDF file and they can read it. So this is okay. But if it is in a proprietary format, for example, if it's some format for which the user does not know which program is used to open that file, then that can be a problem if the user does not have that program or doesn't know how to open the file. Then the next we can test is that when printing, does the report print completely and correctly, because many users they prefer to print out their reports so that they can just read it on a piece of paper. So you can actually go and print out the report and see that each and every data that was presented on screen within the report is actually printed out, and the text or numbers they are not truncated, or it does not overwrite the content of the report, etc. It's a clear and complete printout. Another test we can do in other factors is when printing, does the report retain its presentation so that whatever layout is being shown in the format, so the same format should be available in printing also. So this is how we test software reports. So just to recap everything, a report is a read-only output of the system. The report can contain text or it can contain numbers. Usually it contains both. The most important things we have to test in the report are the data. So whether it is showing each and every data that is supposed to be shown, each and every data present in the database that is shown in the report, are the calculated values correct, is the grouping correct. Then we can test for presentation factors, for example, if the layout is correct or not, if the tables are correct or not, if the data is aligned or not, are the fonts correct or not. And we can also test for other factors so that the report is available within an acceptable period of time. It's in a redistributable format, and when printing it is printed completely and correctly. So that is all for this video, and see you in the next one. Thank you very much. Bye.